Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you all so much for joining us here today. We have another member town hall for you today. It's going to be a lot of fun. Always looking forward to talking with the members and the community about all the exciting things we have going on, answering questions. It's a big event that we always look forward to. Um, Gonna do some Zoom housekeeping real quick before we get started about today's webinar. So we are in webinar format today. I'm sure you're all very used to Zoom calls at this point, or if you've come to multiple town halls, you know the drill. But basically, webinar format just means that all of the participants are automatically muted, your cameras are automatically off. So please feel free to enjoy your lunch, kick back. You don't have to worry about coming on or making noise or anything like that. Um, this does mean that we are going to be using the Q&A feature today rather than the Zoom chat. If you're not familiar, please take a second to locate the Q&A feature somewhere on your Zoom taskbar. This can often be kind of minimized in the More features on the Zoom taskbar. So if you don't see it immediately, please locate the circle with the three dots on the bottom that says More. And if you click on that, you should see somewhere around where it says Polls, also an option that says Q&A. This is a really great feature that lets you, when you type in a question or put in a question in there, it's going to automatically populate on our end in a way that's very organized. So we have multiple people in the background that are going to be helping answer questions as we go, as well as we're going to find some time to make sure that everybody gets addressed. So we definitely encourage questions. We always are looking forward to questions and everything. But please make sure you use the Q&A feature so we can get those on our end the right way and that they're going to be organized. And then finally, this presentation is being recorded. It will be available on our YouTube completely for free. So you can always go back and refer to it. If you miss something or if you have to hop off early or anything like that, then you'll definitely be able to make sure you follow up on whatever you missed. So please feel free and look forward to finding it on our YouTube later. But now with that out of the way, it's going to be my great honor to introduce our CEO, Craig Leonard, who's going to be answering questions here today. How are you doing today, Craig?
Hey, doing well, Ty. Thanks for hosting us.
No problem. Always looking forward to it. All right, so our very first question that we had submitted, thank you all, everybody, for submitting so many great questions this time around. The first one we have today is, what is the financial outlook for the credit union in 2026?
Yeah, right off, we had first. Let me just kind of recap of where we ended 2025, which was a good year, much better than what we had for 2024. Earnings were stronger. We saw really great deposit growth, about 6.5%, which is pretty much kind of average that we saw kind of years back. But I would say 2021 through 2023 deposit growth was a little bit muted. So it was
Hmm.
nice to see more deposit growth come into the institution. We also saw really good membership growth. So more members coming into our organization, really seeing value here. We grew our membership just under 4%. Our kind of 10-year historical average was just under 3. So we're seeing a little bit of a bump up in people coming into the institution. Some of that is the result of our expanding membership and our charter. We've opened up the doors a little bit, if you will. And so we're seeing more people kind of come in to this organization, which is great. Lending was a little off last year. Some of that has to do with just kind of market conditions. Interest rates were a little higher. Housing supply is still challenging. And so we didn't see kind of the overall loan growth. The other thing that we did see, and we're a big kind of player into the student loan market, we did see lower student loan growth. Some of the impact of what's kind of going on with this presidential administration and kind of its impact on higher education. 2026, we're projecting a good year. We think we'll continue to have strong deposit growth somewhere around that 6% level. We're continuing to project more membership growth around that 4% mark. Again, similar to that, what we experienced in 2025. We do think loan growth will be a little bit better. We've seen rates come down slightly, but not considerably. But we are starting to see some people refinance their mortgages, which we hadn't seen in years. So some of those folks that took on mortgages back, but really around that 2023, 2024 period where interest rates were elevated, are finding some opportunities to refinance, lower their payments. So overall, 2026, we think will be a good year for us.
That's great. Yeah. There's been a lot going on.
There's always a lot going on here.
That's true. Okay, next question, sort of related. What percentage of my income, generally saying, should I have in cash ready savings?
Yeah, and Ty, I know you do a lot of work as part of our community engagement team, a lot of seminars on budgeting. So this is I might make sure I get this answer right. Let me know if I'm wrong. But the
Hmm.
kind of rule of thumb is somewhere between that 3 and 6 month period that you should kind of have cash on hand, and that varies. Some people, I would say your own kind of risk tolerance.
Hmm.
I tend to be a little bit more conservative, so I might lean a little bit closer to the 6. And some people might say, you know what, I'm good with the 3. But somewhere in that 3 to 6 is generally a rule of thumb. Ty, is that something that you're
Yeah, thank you for
talking?
including me. I think that's a really good answer. Between 3 to 6 months worth of like emergency savings, like how much you sort of spend all of your expenses for a 3 month to 6 month period, is a really great sort of metric to measure how much on ready cash ready savings you have available to you. I think sometimes, especially in sort of today's climate of a lot of like get rich quick type of things or quick investment stuff out there in today's lingo, some people rush into investing before they have like a sort of very safe emergency cash ready fund available. And that's something I'm always finding that I bring up a lot is just make sure that you have cash available when you need it. In a high yield savings or something like that, there's still options for you. But when you're going to need it in an emergency, you're really going to need it.
Yeah, you really need to have that foundation in place.
Hmm. Yeah, it's very important. But this is a great question. I'm really glad that somebody
Yeah, me
asked it.
too.
Yeah. All right. Next question. What changes can we expect at the credit union this year?
Yeah, we're always busy here, so we've got a number of initiatives. We started to kick off in the introduction of a business product suite, and so we're still in the process of getting that. We're a little bit behind schedule, to be honest with you. We have a number of kind of business deposit products that are ready. We're going to start adding to the functionality or services that business members can use, treasury services, allowing members to use ACH, wires, business Zelle. Those will be coming over the next several months. Our team is working aggressively of getting those to market. And then we're working on the business lending side as well, introduction of business credit cards, non-owner occupied real estate, those type of transactions. And so that's one part. We'll be going through a little bit of a card conversion, which will kind of take us a prolonged period of time. It's one of those things that we have got a lot of feedback over the years of not having the best card services attached with our credit cards and even sometimes with debit. So we're moving to a new provider. We'll be moving our debit cards to a new provider in October of this year, followed by credit in early 2027. We're really encouraged that we'll be able to provide a much higher level of service when we do that. Additionally, we are moving to offer a new um, online account opening solution. For most of you, hopefully, that you're viewing, you're already members, so you've already gone through that process. If you've gone through the online channel, there's a lot of points of friction. And so, one of the things that we're trying to do as an organization is to make your interactions with our organization much more seamless. And so we're looking at solutions that can help us do it. This is just one of those. So future members, when they come into our organization, will be able to come in much easier than kind of the way we've had it up to this point. So we've got that. Another couple projects really fast, and this has come up a number of times at these town halls, is the speed of money or instant payments. So we're working towards that. There's someone has asked in the past about when are you going to do FedNow, and this is a program through the Federal Reserve Bank, and it really just allows payments to kind of be more instantaneously. And so we're working on that. We expect that to happen probably by mid-year. Um, what else can I tell you? The other thing that we're trying to do is continue to gain efficiencies through the use of technology within our organization, like so many others. So we're always busy, Ty.
That's right. That's true. And I think one of my favorite parts of working for the credit union is that it's really, truly community and people focused, member focused first. And so, like, finding those ways to make things easier for them, to bring like better benefits to them is awesome. And I love seeing all of the ways we continue to improve that.
And it may sound silly, but one thing I say to, our team members is that, life is stressful. The way you interact with our credit union should not be. And so it's
Mm.
really we're eliminating those friction points as much as we can.
Exactly. We want to make things easier. All
That's it.
right, next question. What are currently the biggest challenges in managing the credit union and the ever-changing needs of its members?
Yeah, well, this could take us the rest of the afternoon on this question. There's lots. We're in a highly regulated industry. We're a small organization still. We have assets of $1.2 billion. We have roughly 150 people who work here. And it's a very competitive landscape. And so some of the challenges that we have is you're a small player competing always against kind of the big boys. And the demands of consumers are, in fact, like this question is phrased, they're ever changing. And so, how can we continue to be compelling? And that's one thing I say a lot to our team members too is, we're an organization who just doesn't want to be here and available. We want to be an organization that's compelling. We want to drive value to members. We want them to come here. And it's reflecting in our membership growth. There's so many smaller credit unions that are seeing membership growth that is negative. They're losing members each and every year. And we're just the opposite. So what we're doing is working, but it's a challenge. We really will put a lot of pressure on our team members to kind of raise the bar each and every year to make the organization better so we can continue to be compelling to our members.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's great.
that's great.
All right, next question. How do you protect our information from being used inappropriately by any outside entities, whether it be criminals or government agencies?
Yeah, this is another great question, and it's kind of I'll cut up in two ways: the criminals and the government agencies. Um, again, going back, we are a very highly regulated industry. We have regulators come into our organization on an annual basis to make sure that we're operating in a safe and sound manner. And one thing that they always do a deep dive in is around our information technology and how we are protecting information. We have lots of different systems in place to do that. The partners that we have, and we have many, many different partners, we ensure that they have the right systems and they're going through the right checks and balances in ensuring that they have the right security protocols in place and that their systems are being tested regularly, to make sure that the bad actors can't get in. One of the things that we have definitely seen an increase in fraud. And what we do find, and we have seen this for a long time, is the fraudsters go after the weakest link. And unfortunately, the weakest link tends to be humans. And so what we've seen a lot are scams around spoofing where a bad actor will try and to pretend to be us, the organization, and they'll try to solicit personal information that allows them access into their banking credentials. So if you're out there listening today, we will never call you to ask for any type of personal information. If you ever get a call like that, hang up. If you ever feel suspicious of a call, hang up. Call the credit union directly. We don't do that, but not just our credit union, but throughout the industry, you're seeing a rise in fraud attempts. So, and they know that, sometimes, we as humans, we want to think the best in others, and sometimes we fall prey. And so just be wary of that. In terms of government agencies, and I read how this question first came in is what kind of information are we allowed to provide to government agencies? We just don't hand over information. So if you're worried about, hey, is my information being shared by the government? That's not how it works whatsoever. any type of information that is shared with the government. One, there had to be a prior regulation in which to do so. But two, there has to be some type of judicial warrant that would allow us to release your personal information to any type of government agency of sorts.
Yeah, that's great. And I know something that we on the community engagement team with our webinars have been doing. We've started a new like scams and fraud webinar series, one of which is coming up, which I'll mention a little bit later. But we're just always looking for ways to help combat some of this stuff as well.
Yeah, it's hard, and the fraudsters keep getting better. And now with the use of AI, um, it's you just I would say anything that seems a little fishy, use your good senses and call us directly.
Yeah. All right. Next question. Are all members' accounts protected if there is a market crash?
Well, what I would say is that your deposit accounts are protected in full. One thing that makes us a little different is that we have two types of deposit insurance. We have deposit insurance from the NCUA, which is our regulator. Those are protected up to $250,000. And then we have secondary insurance through what's called the MSIC. And that protects deposits in excess of that amount without limit. So if you have $100 with us, or if you have $1 million with us, those deposits are protected in full by both of those agencies, or insurance carriers, I should say. Makes us a little different too than some other national banking providers. So, for example, a Bank of America, a Citizens, they don't have that secondary insurance layer. Makes us a little bit more conservative and makes hopefully you sleep better at night.
Yeah,
Yeah.
love that.
Okay.
All right. Next question.
Next question.
How has the political environment affected the credit union in the past couple of years?
And so most of you probably know that 95% of our business is to the Harvard community, and to the teaching hospitals that Harvard is associated with. So certainly there's been some impact over the last, I would say, 2 years in particular. There's been changes, what's occurred with the Department of Education. There's certainly been some pressure on Harvard, particularly over the last year, 18 months. That has put pressure on what we do from a student lending standpoint. So I would say last year, our student loan volume was down about 35% or so from an origination standpoint. We saw kind of a lower amount of just overall applicants, certainly lower international applicants than what we typically would see. We're kind of projecting to see similar results here for 2026. There have been some changes, certainly with what they've recently done with Grad Plus. That's kind of been eliminated. And so, Harvard, along with many colleges and universities across the country, are trying to figure this part out. And even us we as a financial institution, we know that we're there to kind of support those students. We're not sure yet what that might mean in terms of additional volume this year, but we're prepared to help the university in any way that we can. The other thing that I would say that has kind of potentially impacted us from kind of the political environment are even things around what's happening with the Federal Reserve Bank. So President Trump has just announced who he will have as the new chair of the Federal Reserve. That person will go into if he gets approved through Congress, will take effect in May. That's when Chairman Powell's his current term expires. But there's also been some political pressure from President Trump already saying, hey, I want to drive interest rates low. I want to drive interest rates low. And so there is some political pressure, I'm sure, on the Fed to do that. Whether or not they will, that may not be the best thing for the economy. And we'll have to see how that impacts us as an institution, but things that we have to really be prepared for.
That's a great answer. All right. Next question. Any chance that the interest rates on CDs, certificates of deposit, will go up anytime soon?
Yeah. I'm going to say, unfortunately, probably not. And this goes from kind of the response of my last from the last question is there's more pressure, I think, on short-term interest rates to kind of go lower. We saw kind of a strange January in terms it was one of the highest months in terms of private layoffs that was announced in the country in a number of years. And so there may be additional pressure to cut short-term interest rates just because of what's happening within the private sector. And then you have some of that political pressure on top of that. That is likely to at least keep interest rates where they are on from a short-term basis, and that's where CDs typically land, or to have them go lower. One thing that when I've worked with members over the past year, I've really encouraged them, if it makes sense for their own um, um, kind of personal risk profile, that to go a little longer in duration if they could with some of their CDs. So we have a 15-month term. It's one thing that I've encouraged some folks certainly to look at because I do think interest rates might start kind of tailing a little bit lower than where they are today.
Great insight. Great insight. All right, next question. Do you consider ethics and morality when choosing members of your board or companies you invest in?
Yeah, I mean, our organization is based upon trust and running in a safe and sound manner. One thing that we do and one thing that we say regularly is do the right thing. Do the right thing for our members. When we come up with products and services, we never start with, hey, how much can we make on this services? How can this improve or meet the needs of our members? We have a nominating committee that is part of our kind of a subcommittee of our board. They go through a process where they're recruiting potential new board members in the future. We also have, interested members who want to consider being on the board. They can reach out and go through that process. And as they go through that kind of evaluation process with our nominating committee, they're looking at the skill set of those potential candidates and what they can bring to the board to help the institution grow and prosper into the future. But they're also making sure that they have the right kind of ethical mindset and makeup. We're grounded in that. And any type of company that we do business with, they have to have that. That's a those are table stakes. You have to be um, um, of sound ethic and morality to partner with us.
Thank you, Craig. Okay. What are Herbert future goals?
Yeah, one of the goals that we have here, and it's in our mission, is to make a positive impact on the financial lives of our members, now and in the future. And so our goal is always in trying to ensure we're meeting the needs of our members. I've listed off a number of kind of those initiatives that we're working on, but the goal is to make sure we're delivering on the products and services that our members require. We're working hard on making sure that it's just not the products and services that they need, but it's how they're delivered as well. We talked a lot about how we can work towards eliminating friction. How can we make working with our organization easier? And we want to be here, whether, today you're starting out and you're working, ties we talked about earlier about creating that safety net and savings that first 3 to 6 months. Or if you're thinking about now, hey, I've done that. Now I'm thinking about buying my first car and my first home, or hey, now I'm worried about my daughter's wedding or whatever or retirement. Whatever it is, we want to be here for you, and we want you to think of us when you're thinking about those milestones in your life. We want to be good partners with all of our members. And so our goal is really making sure we can do that for our members. It's not easy, but that's what we try to do each and every day.
Yeah, really well put. I love that answer a lot. And then jumping right off of that, one of the primary resources we have available to you, no matter where you are in that step of the journey, as Craig so aptly put, is GreenPath. GreenPath is a really, really awesome nonprofit partner of ours. They do individual financial counseling for all sorts of different categories, whether that's housing or budget or debt settlement or debt or any of those types of things. If you really need an extra help with any of these steps, we absolutely recommend you reach out to GreenPath. You can do it in a couple different ways. You can either call them or go on the website and request an appointment that way. It is completely free service being a partner with us. You don't even necessarily need to be a member. Not necessarily. You don't need to be a member. You just need to be referred to them from us. So if you need an extra help in your journey, if you need help with something, if you're really feeling stressed or anxious about money and you can't figure out the next thing to do, definitely please reach out. They're wonderful. They're amazing. I can't sing their praises enough. Even our partners at GreenPath say that the first thing that they do when they need help is contact their own organization to go through the right channels to get help. So honestly, no matter what step you are, no matter how like your money experience or financial wellness is, they can absolutely help. So I highly recommend anybody that feels like they might need it to reach out to them. It's a really great next step. So
And like you said, Ty, that's a free service that we provide. Is going back to
yeah,
doing the right thing, right? It's about doing the right thing for our members.
absolutely. Yeah. 100%. And I really like how all of those goals and the things you talked about work so well with the different initiatives and things that we have coming up. So, speaking of which, we have a couple upcoming events and webinars. I mentioned earlier that we've started a ongoing scams and fraud webinar series. The next one is coming up very soon, actually, next week. It's avoiding romance scams. So this one, especially if you feel like anyone you know is falling victim to like a romance scam or somebody trying to get money out of them by pretending a certain affection or something like that, we definitely recommend you check this out. There's some really great information coming directly from our scams and fraud officer that we have new at the credit union. Really great stuff. So please take a look at that if you feel like it's something that could help. But if this isn't the right scams and fraud thing that you need, stay tuned. We have all sorts of new webinars and new information coming out about all various scams and fraud as well. So take a look at that. You can check that out on our workshops page on the website. And then we also have another event coming up very soon, the Home Buying Forum. This is a big one we do every year. The format is changing up a little bit this year. We have two different webinars on the 24th and the 25th. And then we also have an in-person reception at the Painted Borough in Harvard Square on February 26th. So you can come meet and greet with the mortgage officers, with all of these people. You can learn whatever step you're on in the home buying process. There's all sorts of different resources out there for you. So definitely check out the webinars and feel free to stop by if you're in the area to our reception. It should be a lot of fun. We're mixing things up. We're always trying to find new ways to really get in touch with the members in the community on a ground level. So that's going to be our fun upcoming event that we have happening soon. But thank you all so much for coming here today. Let's keep in touch. You can always reach out to us at our sort of public channels here. Craig, is there anything else you want to say before we get to the end of today's presentation?
Thank you always for being a member. Thanks for participating in these town halls. I always give my email address in case you want to reach out to me. It's cleonard@harvardfcu.org. If you have questions or comments on how we can do better, or even something that we're doing well at, and you want to say thanks, I'd love those too. So reach out anytime. I'm here to make this organization better for all of our members. And lastly, Ty, thanks so much. Big sports weekend. Go Patriots.
That's
I have to
right.
say that, right? My prediction 27-24 Patriots. So keeping my fingers crossed for a big win this weekend.
Sounds good, Craig. Well, thank you so much for your time. And as always, you being so open and available to the community and the membership. And thank you all so much for taking time out of your day to reach out to us here today. I really appreciate that. You're going to get some follow-up information as well as, like I mentioned, you can always follow up with this on YouTube as well as all of our public webinars that we have as well. So if you need any more help, please reach out to us. And thank you all so much for being part of the credit union.